My Voice provides those with lived experience in homelessness, addiction, mental and behavioral health struggles, and domestic violence with a platform to tell their story in their words. Every episode is conducted anonymously in order to facilitate a candid and comfortable place for guests to tell their story. My Voice is hosted by Brian Fields, who works as a case manager here at the My House Youth Drop-In Center in Wasilla, Alaska. We now join a My Voice conversation, already in progress.
Hi, welcome to My Voice. This is Michelle Overstreet, and I am here with Amber Bisbee. And thank you for joining us, Amber. Amber is visiting from Minnesota, and Amber has been connected to My House for 15 years.
Yeah.
15. And was really one of the earliest. She was a student at Burchell High School with a small group of young people who really shaped this organization before it was an organization to a great extent, and has not only accomplished incredible things in her life, 2 college degrees and a family and a career, but continued to stay in touch with us and visit and come and go and, kind of reality check me a couple times on like, well, why are you doing that? What about this? And so thank you for keeping in touch and for visiting. And 15 years later, here we are sitting in the recording studio. And most of the time when we start these My Voice questions or sessions, there's a question that goes with that. And the question one, that's just a general question, is where were you born?
Minnesota.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Wasilla, Alaska.
Throughout like the teenage years, I kind of struggled and bounced around. And so I had a family member that needed some help with her health stuff. So I came up here to help with that because I was doing online school and it wasn't going great. I was already like a year behind in high school. So then I asked to just stay up and started at Burchell.
Nice. And if I remember correctly, you had your grandmother, you lived with your grandmother, and who has continued to come and go until we lost her last summer.
Yep,
Spring.
last February.
Mm-hmm. And she was just delightful. Always so excited about things that were happening here and what we were doing and bringing people to see the drop-in center, when it opened, and encouraging. And if you were going to characterize the support that you had in those very early days, what would that look like? I mean, we weren't much of an organization, really, but I do remember that you had a goal to go to college and back to Minnesota for college.
Yeah. Well, and one of the biggest struggles I had was I hadn't passed like the state testing. So like Michelle and the school counselor helped like get a waiver if I didn't pass, so that I could still graduate and not be another year behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then they helped with all like the college applications because I didn't have any support for that or even know like how to do that. I learned how to budget and a whole bunch of different life skills that I hadn't really been taught.
Mm-hmm. That turned out to be very useful. You've put those to good use for sure. You were accepted to St. Cloud State University, and you got your bachelor's degree there. And then before you were done with your bachelor's degree, I got a request for a recommendation letter for your master's degree. So did you just do that back to back? You just went straight?
Yep, I graduated in 2017 with my bachelor's in criminal justice and then started 2 months later with my master's in social work right at St. Cloud State still.
Did you ever think that you would have a master's degree?
No. I was like dead set on I was going to be done with school, but had the opportunity to keep going and not end up with a ton of debt. So I used that resource and thankfully did, and now have a decent job.
What propelled you through that? What motivated you through all of that?
wanting to do better for my, at the time, 2-year-old.
Nice. And if you were going to look back on the place that you were in when you came to Alaska, it felt to me like there was just a lot of, it was kind of swirling confusion.
It was chaos, a struggle. I didn't know which direction I was going or what I was going to do at that time with my life. Moving on, just needed to finish high school at that point.
Mm-hmm,
It was like a day by day.
and then before you even finished high school, you made the decision to go to St. Cloud State for college. What made you do that?
Another part of my life, I had lived in St. Cloud for a while, so just wanted to return.
Felt like it would be comfortable there. One of the things that I think is challenging is that we see the potential for so many young people in that situation that you just described who have the capability to go to college, but they don't feel like they can, or they don't feel like maybe it's for them, or there's a level of discomfort there. How did you overcome that?
I think I wanted to go to college, but it was, the stepping out, being 100% independent was scary. And so I think learning those skills, or even some of those skills beforehand, really helped with that discomfort of, okay, I know how to cook a few basic meals. I know how to use a microwave well, which in the dorms, that's pretty much what you have is a microwave and a mini fridge. And you get a roommate and hope it's somebody you get along with. So having come from Minnesota to a state, not knowing really anybody, starting at another new school where I knew nobody, and then having to make friends, learn some life skills. I felt pretty confident going into another situation where I wasn't going to know a ton of people and be able to navigate it.
Nice. I really like how you said that, because really the experience of coming into My House program with those opportunities for those life skills, the support for helping with applications and all the financial aid, and then the how to deal with a roommate, right? How to be a good roommate. That's a hard life skill. And we have lots of kids that come in that want to live alone, but then when they do live alone, they experience depression, suicidal thoughts. We don't really find that to be healthy. What would your thoughts be on that?
Everyone's different, and there's times that I wanted to be alone, and like with my roommate, we just kind of knew, like, okay, right now I need space. We'd give each other our space. We kind of made it work by just like learning how to communicate, different things like that. When I was struggling, like I had that person to go to and say, okay, I'm really struggling, so that I had that accountability too. So
Nice. I like that. That validates what we say about why we have two youth per room, and that's what we've been told is that if you can create a rhythm with that other person where there's understanding and knowledge about your journey, it can be super supportive and positive. And so you've visited back in Alaska for the last 15 years. You've been here several times. You now have 4 beautiful children. There's a little baby rocking in 5 beautiful children. There's a little baby rocking in a car seat. It's just a darling little thing. And you got an awesome life. You're here visiting your grandpa.
Yep.
Nice.
my home away from home.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't have words for how pleased I am that for all that you've accomplished in all of those areas. I'm thrilled that the life skill that you can trace some things back to those basic life skills, because I really do think that that's so confidence building, that it can make a big difference in the choices that you see for yourself.
I think without the support, I wouldn't have even been able to fill out that application. There was many times I looked at it and I was like, I can't. Even now, I still struggle with some applications, and I'll call people, okay, break this down, make it more simple. The paperwork is not my strong suit, so.
Yeah. but you do it. I mean, you've been incredibly successful because you find a way to do what has to be done so you can get to where you want to go.
Mhm.
And I think that's a tremendously admirable character trait. You know, a lot of people say, I'm not good at it, and they refuse to do it. What you just said was, I'm not good at it, and I find people to help me so that I can do it.
Yep.
And that's a different perspective. That's a success perspective. I think you're telling us how you've been so successful without saying it straight out.
Sometimes you just have to make things work, even if you don't want to.
How did you figure out where you wanted to go?
After I had my criminal justice bachelor degree, I was like, I really wanted to help people before it was kind of too late. So I was thinking, like, originally with the criminal justice degree, like juvenile probation, but then it's like they're already kind of in trouble, and I wanted to catch them before they start going that route. So I decided I was going to do social work and try to do some like preventative. Let's catch it before it gets too late.
Nice. We talk about how often do we talk about that, Isaac? Like every day. It's a theme. So I'm tickled that you're carrying that flag and that you found a place. You're with the Office of Children's Services in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and you found a place where you can do some of that upstream prevention work.
Yep.
Nice. I'm so pleased with that. That's just wonderful. Getting it done in Minnesota. You can always come back here.
We talked about it before we bought the house at one point. It would have
But
been a little bit crowded at my grandma's house, though. I think at that time we had like 2 kids and a third on the way. So
Yeah, I like the fact that you can come and go. It's nice for your family and nice for you. And I saw the pictures of the boys up in Hatcher's Pass being boys,
yeah,
visiting. I bet that's fun for them to.
I had fun climbing a little bit, and thankfully my cousin took them up because I made it down the one little slope to get to kind of where they were, and I sunk like 4 times. I was like, this ain't gonna work.
Oh,
So
so you had they got to do boy stuff.
yep,
Good.
go climb and be wild out in there.
Yeah. Good. Alaska's a good place to do that.
Normal wild area because they go to an outside school, so them being outside is nothing new for them.
Nice.
I prefer the outdoors.
Very cool. I don't know. I'm not familiar with an outside school.
So mine go to like it's like a private school, and it's out in the forest. So when it's nice out, they're outside all day from drop off to pick up, unless it's storming.
Wow.
The winter, they're outside for as long as they can be, given that it's colder and snowy. And
Wow.
they bundle the kids up, and they're out, and they do their math, their reading, language arts, all that outside.
That's amazing. Very cool. And it probably works really well for how old are they?
The 2 that go are 10 and almost 6.
Okay. Very cool. That seems like a perfect thing for boys.
Get their energy out.
Yeah.
Get their wiggles out.
Yeah.
Smaller classes. I think there's maybe 30 kids total between the 2 age groups. So
Wow. That's amazing. And again, finding solutions for what works for them and putting those in place. Nice job. Nice parenting.
thank you.
That's again, you're changing the trajectory of your whole family.
That's the goal, to try to improve what they have and teach them the skills they need.
Nice. Well, I know that you've got a lot of things on the agenda for this trip. You've squeezed us in twice now, so thank you for that. I'm always happy to see a note from you or a message, and I'm grateful that you just came in to share a little bit of your journey. But I also really wanted people to understand that this organization has really stayed true to where we came from. That, helping young people fill out college applications and gather up life skills that help them to be successful long term is really the essence of, and what we're looking for is outcomes, right? What we're saying. We had a conversation yesterday that was interesting, that in your class from Burchell High School, and at that time, 50% of the student population was homeless. I'm not sure if it's still that way. They were either living with other family that wasn't their family of origin, or couch surfing, or some variation on that theme. And we started the opioid task force in 2015. And in that year, we lost 13 kids in 12 months to overdose. And when we were thinking about it, I was reminded of Joe Garagiola Sr., when I worked for the Diamondbacks baseball team, had an 8.5 by 11 photo that he carried around of his stickball team that was in the Chicago projects. And he and Yogi Berra were on the same stickball team. They lived in the same neighborhood. And Joe would get that picture out and tell the story that of that group of kids, there are like 11 kids in the picture. And of that group of kids, he and Yogi Berra were professional baseball players. There was one other guy that owned a business, and everybody else in the picture was either dead or in jail. And I think about that with the class that you came from at Burchell High School, that you really stepped out and just said, I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that. I am doing this. And you and Dejanay Hale both have college degrees. There are a number of other kids, a small group, that are successful, either business owners or in some other way, but a lot of the students that you are in school with are no longer with us. And I'm just really proud. I'm really proud that you just would not take no for an answer, that you decided what you wanted to do and just went for it and kept going for it until you got what you wanted. And now you're doing something with that upstream prevention and you're not only doing that with your upstream prevention work at your job, but you're raising a family that is completely different than the family you came from. And what a legacy you've created. Good for you, Amber. Nice work.
Thank you.
And you're so humble and quiet that it's like, I'm not sure you're aware of the impact that you as an individual can make by doing just those two things. It's huge.
Yeah, I don't like, this is really hard for me because I don't like being like the center of attention. So
Yeah.
I'm challenging myself to do this.
Well, thank you. I know that you don't. I'm grateful that you came and joined us and talked about it even a little bit. But I know that we have young people that listen to these podcasts and that can be inspired by what you've done. So thank you for being an inspiration.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being part of the solution, and thanks for visiting us when you come back.
Well, thank you for continuing to do all the hard work and teaching.
Yeah, you're welcome. Our pleasure. So we'll wrap it up. Thanks, Amber. Thanks for being brave again. And we'll see until next time. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.